Welcome to the second installment of Rockford UFS deck upgrade series slash deck evolve slash popper deck thing stuff. I got Rob Snyder here, Mr. Guile Treatment, my co-host, soon to be replaced by Church because he's not showing up to Worlds, but whatever. We still love him. So me and Rob are tackling Spike 1, the starter deck. Last episode was Mark Wisniewski with the Vicious, so we're going to do the protagonist this time. We're just going to jump right into it. Rob, do you want to do your list first, or you want to do my list?
I can just do mine.
Okay, that's cool. So where do you want to start?
I went with a water build.
Yep.
And what I basically looked at is I'd say one of the best attacks for Spike is Swimming Bird. And I wanted to use like some of the other Bebop cards. So for my deck, I basically didn't use anything that was not a common or uncommon. So, and some like starter cards as well. So the idea is that it's like pretty easy to put together. I did run 2 Vengeance of the Fallen Angel, which I think is a one of in the starter. So I guess you'll have to get 2.
Well,
if you want to build this.
I guess more often than not, people are going to buy 2 of them because you don't get a full set of some of the cards in one of the decks. So,
and I'm also running like 2 Bang, which you can it's sort of one of those things like you probably got 2 boxes of Bebop, so you can get it. And if you didn't, like someone else probably has some extras. And I think even if you buy it, that's still a card that's like somewhat cheap. Mm-hmm. And honestly, you should probably have if you sort of have presumptions of playing competitively at some point.
More often than not, like here in Rockford, we pass them out as weekly prize support along with the packs. So they're pretty easy to get, especially if the stores continue.
It's the other thing too is like, especially for like a store, it's like every time they open a box, they can just throw it to the side, and then when you have a player that's like newer or something, you can be like, "Do you have this card? Do you have like more than one of this card? Like here you go."
Mm-hmm.
So, but those are really the only cards that were like tough to get, I guess.
Yeah.
I also like stayed away from like really anything that says King of Fighters, which I guess at this point those cards are basically out anyway.
Yeah, very true.
So I guess for the attacks, I went with more of a weapon lineup because I'm running ISSP Execution, and the idea with that is that for Deadlock you can get weapon attack, it's a stun or weapon. Sorry, so I guess I could have run some stun attacks, but. And that's just really good. It's a little slow in mid, but Spike can give it a little bit of speed.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just going to be a ton of damage. I guess it'll probably be 8 for Spike.
Yeah.
And it's just there. It's got the stun too, and it's a mid zone, which a lot of your attacks are mid. So if they want to block that, then there might be an attack later that gets through that they don't block.
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing though is just the deadlock of getting you other attacks back, which will be very good for like closing out games.
Yep.
I guess then we'll talk about like the weapon cards that you can pick up with this. The most obvious one is Swimming Bird, which is sort of a ridiculous attack. 5 mid 5. +1 mid block. Well, and it's a 5 diff, but really it's a 4 diff because your Spike, you're always going to have 2 more face downs, unless it's basically like the first turn that you're attacking.
Yeah.
And even then, like you might be able to get there. And then of course the E for like just a ton of damage. Yeah. So like this is sort of one of those cards where it's like going to be pretty easy to kill someone with it, and you can give it that 2 extra speed. So anything where you're talking about a 7 speed mid, and you got to think too, like that's one of the reasons for like the ISSP as well is if they're holding a mid block for Swimming Bird, well maybe they have to burn it on the ISSP.
Yeah, because you're looking at what, a 5 mid 8 on the execution, right? 5 mid 8. Yeah.
Yep. Then the other weapons, Kersplat, which is just, I don't think this is really a secret at this point that this is arguably my favorite attack in the game. Again, it's a weapon, so you can pick it up. It's got a great low block, and it's also a reversal, gains you a little bit of life, which is great for Spike, because he already has a ton and on-character damage reduction, so when you start gaining an extra, like, 2 life here, 2 life there, it's even harder to like kill you just because. Yeah. It also has that ability which works well as a reversal, where you can play your next block and not worry about the cards in your card pool. So it sort of hedges your bet a little bit of like, okay, well, if they throw like another big attack that I really have to block, like hopefully, you know, I don't have to worry about it as much. But then also that helps when you're attacking, because you can throw this, you know, like let's say this is your third attack and you like have it on a 6, you know, you have to, if you check a 5, commit 1 to pass it, and then you can like commit 1 more card, and that card that you committed for the E is basically like committing 3 foundations for the next card, like the next attack you want to play.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't necessarily want to use it like if it's, you know, like your second attack and you're going to play another 4 diff on a 6, you know, because whatever. It's like if you're going to be committing that foundation and it really only gives you like +1 to your check, then it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other possibility too is like you could play something like this as like your 3rd or 4th attack and then sort of force through a Vengeance of the Fallen Angel later, or like basically afterwards.
Yeah.
And even though it's like a 6 diff, that, I mean, playing something on a 6 is a lot better than playing it on like a 9 or a 10.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And then you can, even if you like, you drop a Swimming Bird after it, it's on a 4.
Yeah.
It's even easier to pass. Yeah.
Or the other weapon that we have, or I guess there's 2, but this is another weapon, is Allurophobia, which is called cats.
Yeah, it's called
fear of cats.
Yeah.
I'm only running 3 of this just because, like, you know, I was trying to keep the attacks like below 20. But again, it's a weapon you can pick up. And I mean, everyone should know what this card does at this point.
Yeah, this card's
I guess for Spike,
stupid.
You know, it's pretty much going to be 10 damage. It's going to have 2 from itself, 1 from Spike, double it to 10.
Yep.
And he can give it 2 speed, so it's 5.
Yeah.
So, right. I mean, that's another one where, like, this is just another really, really good value mid attack, which is kind of where I went with this. Basically just running a bunch of mids. Because people will have mid blocks in their deck, but often they're going to be the ones that are like +3.
Yeah.
You know, just they kind of fill stuff up, and then they might have like 1 or 2 really good blocks that are like a +1 mid. But the idea is that if all of your, like, basically you just have a ton of threats that are all mid, then, you know, they're not going to block them all.
Sure.
I mean, you saw that a little bit last year, or I guess 2 years ago at this point, with that mature deck where everything was mid. And you sort of think like, oh, all I have to do is hold mid blocks. But at a certain point, you know, you can only block so many things.
Yeah.
Especially with him putting speed on it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then I ran 1 Rolling Cutter, which is another weapon, and just a really good card.
Yeah, it's a very good reversal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good reversal, and just the R is great, you know, if you get it to land on like an early turn as well. I was also running 2 Spider Suplex, which sort of plays into that same life gain thing. It's also going to be a 4 diff, Desperation, which, you know, Spike gets to like a lot earlier than other 7-handers, having, 24 Vitality?
Yeah, 24, yep.
So, that's just basically in the same vein as Curse Blatt. It's also a throw, so, you know, it'll get through. I guess if you make it 7 damage, you're basically guaranteed to get at least 4, unless they have like a throw block.
Yep.
In which case, you know, you can throw that out, do 4, and then throw a Vengeance of the Fallen Angel, force that through, and do 6. So, you know, if your opponent's at like 10 or less, you might just have them if they don't have like a way to answer those cards. So, I mean, I think that wraps up the attacks.
Yep.
I mentioned like the 2 bangs. That's just a card, sort of utility. Sealing up your opponent's character or another problem foundation. I mean, we just talked about throw hate. I mean, maybe they have a foundation that will stop your throw. And, you know, maybe that is the best value to seal. You know, I'm not sure. And then obviously the R of just sort of surprising them if they don't block for an extra 3 damage is sort of great.
Especially after a Fallen Angel, that card's ridiculous.
Right. I mean, you know, right. Anything. I mean, you have to sort of think about it where if they know that you have bang in your deck and they're not sure if they want to block an attack and that attack will leave them at 3 or less, they're going to have to think really hard, because if you have a bang, you might, like, that might be it. They
That's
might just
game.
lose.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I guess foundations. I'm running a little bit light on what we call spams, which is sort of one diff or less. And that was more just a function of, I don't like, they're not that good. And just trying to keep stuff like a little more relevant, I guess. So like, a part of the thing is you kind of want those anyway, though, because for Spike, I mean, if you're using his E a lot, you're going to end up with a lot of things that are flipped and just blank. So I tried to like spread this around a little bit, a lot of like one of this, two of this, because the idea is basically that, if you have a card that's like useful for your matchup, maybe you leave that up. But, if you have a card like, let's say like for chasing the fight money, if you're playing that and, that your opponent doesn't have stuff that's going to like add cards to your pool or breaker, then don't worry about it. Like you can just be like, okay, well, I'll just flip this. Same sort of thing for,
Nothing like Andy?
Huh?
Nothing like Andy?
Nothing like Andy is literally just flip this. But basically just treat that card as something with a decent mid block and a card that says E flip, this attack is like +2 or -2 speed.
It does clear itself on block, so it's not terrible.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, I guess really the only one that was like a lot of is Design for Combat.
Yep.
And that's just a great card. 1/5 +2 mid. It flips itself. So that can be good, for instance, if you want to turn on that Swimming Bird as your second attack. If you have one of these out, you can flip this for itself and flip something else for speed, and then you sort of instantly turn that on.
Yep.
So, I guess the two diffs, that's like a little, sort of more vital. So the big one, I guess, Dragon Goddess. That is just E, your mid attack is +1 speed. So if you can get like 2 of these out, then we sort of went over how you have so many mids, and some of them aren't slow, but some of them like ISSP are. With something like this, if you get 2 speed from Spike and like 1 or 2 speed from this, you start talking about something that instead of being 3 speed is like 6 or 7. That's way more respectable.
Very relevant.
A card like that is sort of something we talked a little bit about, like late game, like scaling, which is stuff where, like as you get more of them, it gets better. And as it gets later in the game, like you still have the ability to force attacks through.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of like a card that absolutely like fits that requirement. And like the E commit to possibly make them discard a mid block, like there's nothing wrong with that either. If you're running, if they have 1 card left in their hand and you're playing a mid attack, and you just get to look at it, and if it's a mid, then they replace it with whatever the top card of their deck is. And if it's not, then you know that your attack's going to be like dealing some sort of damage.
Sure.
Other than that, I guess there's some other, some more like 2s and 3s. I guess I had 4 of Fids, which is just a way to sort of cover up your block zones a bit. And Balanced Fighter, which, is great. You have a couple discard costs, and it's also like a speed reset, which is, I think, huge right now. Yeah, don't hesitate to build that card, especially early. It'll keep you alive. But then, right, just a couple things. Despise All Evil, Celestial Being, Lighted Up, Generous Gambler. These are a couple things, just like 2 of this, 2 of that. And that's just the same kind of thing of like, pick what you need for your current matchup. Yep. And just kind of like, flip the rest. There's also, so the other nice things are like between Despise All Evil and Generous Gambler, you have the ability to sort of like blow up your face downs. So if you're playing against something like, like a Woodman or something like that has like a ton of really powerful deadlock effects, maybe you don't want to be hanging out at like 11 or 12 foundations. So stuff like that can get you back under.
Yep.
And then there's also like, I guess a couple ending the dream, which, is sort of just big damage for low input. I mean, that's great with cats at the end of a string. And then I guess a couple 3-diffs, low foundation hate, 2 tribal protectors. You do have some sort of expensive attacks, like especially Vengeance of the Fallen Angel. And you're going to be playing some stuff on 6s, some 4-diffs that you're playing as your like 3rd attack. So that's just something that gives you a little bit, or I guess, what is that? Printed 5 or more. Printed difficulty 5 or more. Yep. So the big thing with that is, you have Swimming Bird, that's printed 5, that will most of the time be a 4, and Spider Suplex, which is a printed 5, that will also often, especially later in the game, will be basically a 4-diff. Mm-hmm. Right, and then obviously Vengeance of the Fallen Angel. So this is a card that, even though those things are basically like 4-diff attacks, it will still trigger for this. If you play a Swimming Bird as your 3rd attack, instead of it being on like a 6 or a 7, you basically have a foundation that for free will give you +1 to the check.
Yep.
And again, it's something that you can always just flip. And the ability to ready after your opponent's ready step, it's just similar to Summer Heat. If you're a newer player, you might not know about that card. But,
the Summer Heat days.
Yeah. But, just something like that, it really allows you, because even if you're not, even if you're just playing an attack and you don't plan to play anymore, and you're just like, well, I just need to commit 1. You can just commit this. Yeah. Because it'll ready again, and that'll just leave you available to block.
Yep.
And then, just Red Dragon Assassin as another like spike starter that gives you a little bit of foundation control.
Yep.
So. Did I talk about? I think I skipped over Reward.
Yeah, you did.
Reward is sort of an interesting card. It was in, I think, the first Red Horizon set, and it got reprinted in Blood Omen. And I'll admit, I never really looked twice at this card until I played Vega at Rockford last year, and I was really sold on it by one of the Canadian players, Devin Bernier. He was like, dude, you have to run this card as like, I don't know if he said 1 or 2. I ended up with like 1 main, 1 on the side. And man, like, if you get this card out with any sort of like respectable build, it's amazing. It's basically a full block for any multiple copy, just for committing it and one other foundation. And, it also helps against some of these like really, really big attacks in Cowboy Bebop. Like, as long as you can keep it up, like if you have a lot of stun, you might be out of luck anyway, but the ability to just like return something to printed is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely worth, I think, just including it just to get like familiar with it, and just so, especially for like if you're a newer player, you might see some of these cards, and just getting the chance to actually play with some of them, like you might realize like some of the stuff that you may have overlooked. And when you're going to build, like depending on what you want to do, like you might find some stuff that you might otherwise overlook.
Yep.
So
sounds good. All right, I went with a water build. I first went with the death build, and then Rob made fun of me. So then I changed it to, because he was doing water too, and I decided to also go ahead and do water and change. My attacks are a little different. I still play actually a heavy weapon build as well. It seems like the water weapons are really good. ISSP, I play her Splat, Aurelia Bird, and Fallen Angel. I do play Focus Charge.
But Fallen Angel, I don't think is a weapon.
No, it's not. Sorry.
Okay.
But I also play it just like you. But my deck plays Focus Charge to kind of lead into Fear Cats, because Focus Charge gives stun 1 to my opponent, gives the next attack +3 speed and 1 to its powerful rating. So if I want to throw a Fear Cats, it becomes a 6 speed for whatever damage and stuff. Or I can throw a Swimming Bird and it becomes an 8 speed or whatever.
Or you can throw Vengeance of the
Fallen
Fallen Angel.
Angel, and it becomes a 7-speed 6, and instead of maybe doing the firstie, I just stick 6 damage onto it, and it becomes, and I use Spike, and it becomes a 9 mid for 13, which is pretty good. I think it's kind of good.
Pretty good.
I also play Bang as well as a 3 of, I believe. Well, us in Rockford, we whenever I open a new box for prize support, I just slide the Bang into our promo stack. Our promo stack is a bunch of cards that we've just accumulated over the year, and they're all face down, and people just take random picks from it. So usually if there's a newer player starting his first night, I'll pick a Bang out and give it to a newer player just for just showing up. I'll go quickly over this because a lot of it's not different. I pretty much play a lot of the same foundations. I play more spam, I believe, than Rob. I have 18. I got 1 expert swimmer, 2 agile, Heart of the Mountain for some. So for Heart of the Mountain, you can commit it for -2 speed, then flip it for another -2 speed. So you can use -4 speed on the same card. I also play Nothing Like Andy. After we were talking about it, I immediately cut short fuse because most of the attack zones are mid. Don't need short fuse. So this is actually a really good card. It's a +2 mid that just basically removes itself. Gives you -1 to progressive for the turn on blocking, and then it is flip fodder, which sometimes you may not want to flip other things, so it's good for flip fodder. I do play 1x Active Treason for more foundation hate. We play Kersplat as the only reversal, so if you happen to check one or don't save it for momentum. Damnation. I don't think you had a Damnation in yours at all.
Yeah, I just I had a couple cards that were sort of in mind that I ended up just like trimming because I was sort of trying to go for like a little bit more
aggro,
like a little more aggro and just a little more like friendly, if you will, of just like less cards where you're just like looking, you're like, well, when do I use this?
Oh,
and I mean, I think I still ended up with some, but like Damnation is one. I mean, you know, like you could just put that in the side if you want, and then you know, play around with it.
Yep.
I also had a couple cards where I feel like I was like looking at them, and then I was just sort of thinking about my like deck, and I was like, you know, like this is something that's you know more designed for like living longer, and you know, I think that you're kind of going to do that a little bit just on the value of your character.
True.
So
true.
It's sort of, I don't know. This is a little bit, I think, like caught in between of like, you know, does it want to attack early? Like, does it want to?
Yeah, I believe like, mine more of like a mid-gamey type situation, just more of, I guess, personal preference, but I kind of built it to more of the suit the mid-game a bit. So I don't know. I guess you could just not add it. It's a non-block, so you could just toss it. It's what Tam said. It's a non-block, so why would you even play it? So moving on. I play 1 copy Journey West. I keep trimming this card down. Eventually, I'm pretty sure if I kept playing this deck, I'd probably take it out completely. But as we talked before filming, being able to reverse and then putting significant, you know, if your opponent, it's either they have to block it and clog their pool, or their next attack is +2 difficult, too more difficult. So it kind of messes with your opponent's mind. It's a mind game. So it's either they're going to take 4, you take 5, you gain 2, and your next card doesn't count towards progressive, but that's going to happen anyways, or they clog the card pool, and all that other fun stuff. Despise All Evil, really good card. Rob mentioned that to me as we were before filming. I added it in at the last minute. It's a very good card. I have Rhythmic Fighting Style in, mostly because it's a good throw hate card. It's reusable throw hate. Like Ophidiophobia is like a one-time use. This is once per turn, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a really good card. And that was more just me not
playing with rares,
not including rares.
Yeah,
because I was also like struggling to find decent high blocks.
Yeah,
and I mean that's like a +2 high with Breaker 1.
Yes.
I mean that's absolutely like a good card that I think is like a bit underplayed.
Yep.
And I think that has a little bit to do with its symbols. But
I agree. It is under the $5 mark on Rochester CCG. If people were wondering if they wanted to buy that for their spike decks, you can play it off of life or water, which is great. I had 3 reactive style for momentum hate, and I do have a couple momentum uses of Luriphobia. can get up to powerful 3. You'll see Sing for Me, and I believe I may have one other. Nope, that's it. Sing for Me and Illyrophobia are the only momentum uses. Designed for combat. It's a great card. It combos well with Fallen Angel because you can pitch early and get extra damage since they can't block it. It's face up. They take extra damage. You can pitch. You can.
No. You don't mean design. You mean improved design.
Improved design. I'm sorry. Design for combat's up there. Improved design. My bad. Because I have improved design right here on the screen. You get to get +1 damage for your face ups, or if you check an attack, you get to pick it up for the destroy cost. 3 balance fighter because there isn't. I guess you probably up that to 4 because we do have multiple discard outlets, so you may want to bump that up to 4. But
I mean, the big thing is just you have this, between design for combat and improved design. Like that's really all you kind of need.
True, very true. I have,
and it's also just again like it's some of the best speed hate in the game right now.
As long as it's standing straight up. If it gets stunned out, you're kind of just hosed, but it doesn't matter. It's still a great card. I got 1 copy of Sing for Me. It's a low block, but it gives you some outside card draw because really the only outside card draw in the deck are designed for combat, bang, if you hit with the 3 extra damage. Improved design, it has to react on it, but this gives you vitality gain and card draw, so coupled with some curse splats, you could end up living longer. Like I said, mine's more of like a mid-game deck. 2 Generous Gambler, +4 or -4 speeds, pretty hot, I guess. Ending the Dream, no real explanation. That card's awesome, especially with cats. Or a giant swimming bird. Hi, Daph. What's up? 2 High Seas Adventure. Being able to skip an enhanced step is great. If, say, like you need to kill your opponent, you could just throw Flash, and they had some enhances that may be able to, debuff your attack. You could do that, or, vice versa.
Can you play that on your own attack? I thought it was opponents.
No, it says after an attack is played. Yeah, you can. So say like you have them dead to rights on something, and they have they have a Fated Phobia out, and all they have is mid blocks, and you're throwing a focus charge, and you kill them with it. 1 Red Dragon Assassin, kind of like the same idea that Rob had. It's in the starter deck. Why not? It's a great card. It's targeted destruction. Definitely you can go multiple ways with Spike. I would say he's probably the most flexible character out of the entire set. These are just a couple of the builds. I have a death build on my UFS Ultra page. I'll link that in the video description. It's more of like a ranged death build that kind of plays off of like Shield Ram and Everywhere. So Rob doesn't agree with it, but hey,
I think that I don't care about Everywhere, but Shield Ram is just a card that I know it got reprinted, but it's just not worth it.
I'll click over to it. You know what though? Someone may want to try it out. Because it's basically just a bunch of ranged attacks, and it has Everywhere on it, and it's awesome. So, but this one may cost a little bit more than the other builds we're showing, because it does have a couple more rares, like Securing His Destiny. It has four Vengeance of the Fallen Angels. It has homing missiles in it. Survivalist, which shouldn't be too much.
Dude, Survivalist is a throw-in at this point.
Yeah, I know that, but it really takes the specialized ammunition card from Spike's starter deck.
Oh man, Survivalist is pretty sweet with Spike because you can give an attack like +1 damage and then reset it.
Yeah, it's kind of like playing Immortal Knowledge on an attack and then doing it. So specialized ammunition says your next your next rage attack gets -3 difficulty only if you have 2 or more face downs. So say you want to end your attack string with like an Everywhere, which is ranged, and you give it -3 difficulty, so you're playing it on a 3 plus progressive. And you can probably get it up to an easy 10 plus damage with Spike's kit with the cards that are in it. So it's something that I might try out because I love Everywhere. It's one of my favorite attacks in the game. I beat my locals with it to death with Grant Padley, and Rob made fun of them all the time for it.
I did.
But that's pretty much it for the deck upgrade series. So Rob, I appreciate it. I think the next one we may be doing won't happen until after Worlds. Justin Pardo will be joining us with a Chun-Li upgrade deck. And that's it. So everyone have a good night. And if you're going to Worlds, we'll see you there. This may come out after Worlds. No, it's going to come out tomorrow. So we'll see you at Worlds. Have a good night, everyone.